Check, check. Sound good? All right, cool. I think we're going to get started. Yeah, it's 4:01. Let's do this. All right, so welcome to Puzzle Competitions and You. So, who am I? My name's Chris. I'm a security researcher at Veracode. Since a few of you guys asked already what team I'm competing on for stuff this year, I'm a mobile discoer. I'm a puzzle aficionado. I've been doing competitions for a few years now. I organized the... Louder? Let me see. Louder, 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 louder. That better? Okay, cool. So, yeah, what I just said, I'm a security researcher at Veracode. My name's Chris. I compete on the mobile disco team. I'm a puzzle aficionado. All these, by the way, they asked this before. All these slides are going up after the talk, so don't bother taking notes. Like, I'd like this to be super casual. If you have any questions, just throw your hand up and we can go at it. I'm Mr. Toff on Twitter. So, yes. Oh, quite all right. So, why am I doing this talk? I gave a talk about a classical cryptography suite for Python that I wrote at BCon this year. And people kept asking me, why would you use this? Why do you need to be able to do this faster? And I kept going back to stories about times I had used this or needed this in a puzzle competition. Also, it's kind of getting to the point where there is some sort of puzzle competition at every conference, be it a badge challenge. I mean, how many people have gone to a conference, opened up the program, and seen ciphertext in there somewhere, or some crazy encrypted puzzle crap? It's at every single one nowadays. I think one of the things that bugs me is I was talking with some of the guys who are doing Mystery Challenge this year out by the pool, and there were a few other guys walking by, and I mentioned the badge challenge, and they said to me, "Oh yeah, that looks really cool, but I have no idea how I would do that." And that kind of bugs me because these puzzle competitions are great. Like, I think they're the epitome of hacking. You're sitting down to deconstruct something that's specifically set up to be a fun puzzle that you can deconstruct in a few hours or days. And when people are getting intimidated by them, there's something wrong with that. So what I'm hoping to do is show you guys some tools and techniques that can get you more involved with this so you can get going. And so what I just said, why am I, what am I defining as a puzzle competition? Things like the badge challenge, schmooganography, stuff like, does anyone not know what I'm talking about when I say puzzle competition? I'm not talking about building Legos faster than somebody else or putting together like puzzle pieces or something like that. No, I'm talking about like things like crypto challenges and basically HackerCon puzzle challenges. Cool? All right, so real quick, my balance when I'm playing, I'm going about 50% because I love solving puzzles and 50% because I'm competitive and I want to get things done quickly, right? There's no point in doing one of these if you're not having fun. If you want to get a black badge so you can pretend you're cooler than somebody else, go get the one off eBay or go do like Hacker Jeopardy so you can memorize a bunch of port numbers and win 3 of them. Cool. So also, when I'm solving an individual puzzle, there are 3 things that I focus on about equally. Speed. These puzzles are being designed by someone for you to beat in a few hours, okay? Everyone here is smart. Everyone here can take one of these things home and sit and stare at it for 8 hours in their office, but that doesn't help you. You have to be able to get things done quickly. Also, you have to be able to do them correctly, right? Someone sat down and designed this for you to solve. If you get the answer by random happenstance or brute luck or brute forcing it or stealing it from somebody else, awesome, you get to go on to the next step. But when you go up and go, I'm here to go to the next step, or I'm here because I beat your puzzle, and they go, cool, how'd you do it? You go, I don't know. That doesn't really look good. A lot of people will score you by how fast you get things done and by how well you get things done. And finally, some finesse, some style. You got to do things with panache. right? Somebody spent thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours designing something for you to do. If you're not going to have fun with it and make it fun for them too, then, you know, there's no reason to do it. So I'm just going to dive right into some skills you should have and some tools and gear you should have, right? Because we've got a whole lot of disparate skill sets to cover. And I'm sorry, but if anyone was coming here expecting me to make you into like a crypto ninja or a hardware ninja, you can't do it in 40 minutes. But I'm going to give you some things that can hopefully get you up to speed. So that's my, that's about 75% of what went into my bag to bring for Mystery Challenge this year. So full soldering kit, Gorilla mask, craft supplies, Dremel, full set of Dremel stuff, all sorts of stuff that we're going to talk about. So right off the bat, I think one of the most important skill sets you can have is being good at classical cryptography, pre-mechanical cryptography, however you want to define it, right? Crypto's great. As someone who's designed puzzles, crypto is great because you can go print out a cipher on a piece of paper for 3 cents a copy, and there's a step that will occupy people for 3-4 hours, right? Also, cracking ciphers is hella fun, right? And so one thing that we're looking at here, though, is we're looking specifically at old school cryptography, right? No one's going to ask you to by hand crack something that's AES encrypted or, you know, DES encrypted. It can be done, but you have to have really specialized tools set up ahead of time. And unless they've warned you that that's what they're doing, no one's going to do it. So I'm talking about classic ciphers here, right? Caesar cipher, Vigenère, one-time pads, Affine, stuff you can do by hand. And as I'll show you in a second, it behooves you to have that automated because doing them by hand is fun, but it also, you know, taking a sentence and converting the letters to what number they are in the alphabet takes a long ass time. You don't have a tool to do that. You're not going to get through the speed section. You're not going to get the puzzle solved in the amount of time that you have at the conference. Also, history. Frequently, there are hints dropped as to what you're dealing with. I think one of the ones that jumps immediately to mind was in the DBIR puzzle challenge like 2 or 3 years ago. There were a bunch of clues about le chiffre indéchiffrable, which was a term that was used to describe the Vigenère cipher back in the day, meant the undecipherable cipher, which it wasn't, and that's a quote out of context, but there you go, right? If you know your crypto history, you are going to know that. How would I recommend getting good at crypto skills and crypto history? Take a class. Really, go take a class at a university to do this. I know some people don't like me suggesting that, but I've really not found any free open source alternative that's better than actually sitting down and having somebody tell you, okay, you have to crack Vigenère by hand now, go. Here's the history behind it, go. Here's how it works, go. Here are all of these historic attacks that you can use to defeat it. And, you know, you don't even have to pay for it anymore. Stanford's doing them for free. MIT has one for free. Go grab them off iTunes. Done. Now, tools I would recommend for doing cryptography. One of my favorites, the Rumkin Crypto Suite. It's a website. If you Google Rumkin Crypto, it'll pop up right away. It's all nice and Ajax-y, so as you type, you're getting real-time feedback. It's one of my favorites for cracking Vigenère. Cryptool, another one that's it's one that's written in Java. There's a Windows installer and a Linux installer. Not bad. It handles solitaire cipher really well, and it does some fantastic visualizations of how ciphers work, especially some early mechanical ones like Enigmas. Israel Torres has 2 tools called Cryptocram and another one called Decoder Ring. They're fantastic for plowing through a lot of easy ciphers really quickly. I love those. They're one of my go-to tools to just throw things in right away and see if it's anything simple. I have my own Python crypto suite that I've released on GitHub, github.com/TOF, T0PH. It's up there. That's what I'm going to be using for Mystery Challenge this year. Feel free to go at it. Enjoy. But honestly, the best thing you can do is learn how these ciphers work, get a good scripting language and write your own, right? This is not anything hard. We're talking about converting letters to numbers, where A equals 0 and Z equals 25, doing simple math on them, and then converting them back. That's the basis of all 27 of the ciphers that I have in there right now. It's easy. Take 3 hours over a weekend, write your own. You will gain a tremendous understanding of how they work. And that's frankly more useful than me giving you all of these tools. So next, physical skills. Lockpicking speaks for itself. We're hackers, we like lockpicking. And general fab and prototyping. Sometimes you're going to need to drill through something, cut through something, tear something apart in a way such that you want to make it look like you didn't totally destroy it, right? All about finesse. So tools I would recommend for this, lockpicks. So if you can't find lockpicks at a HackerCon, you've got a problem. Someone you know will have them. But as a pro tip, find someone who's better than you and bribe them, right? 5 guys who ran over and grabbed a set of picks from the fail table is useful, but having one friend who's a really good picker is a lot more useful than having 5 guys who aren't. General physical tools. Always take screwdrivers. A Torx bit will pop up somewhere whenever you don't have a Torx bit, right? They're one of the most useful things you can have. Bring as many screwdrivers as you possibly can. And drills and saws. Power drills are great for taking things apart quick, for getting through stubborn locks, for modifying things. And you can go grab a little piece of bent wire saw from Ace Hardware for $2. Doesn't matter if the TSA confiscates it or you throw it out on the flight back. But sometimes you need to cut through something and nothing but a saw will do. Electronics. I see a lot of hardware hacking in competitions nowadays. Depends which one you're doing. Get to that later. But I would really recommend having a knowledge of analog circuits and having soldering skills. Know at least one person who's really good at soldering. Someone who was an electrical engineer. Someone who is a dedicated hardware hacker. Not someone who bought a solder by numbers kit and put it together once. Because if you're doing a competition, they give you a kit to put together, you have a kit to put together. If they think that they're good because they put together an LED clock one time and they end up frying your microcontroller, you are hosed. And finally, have some microcontroller programming skills. I would really recommend looking at who you're dealing with, right? So if you're competing in a competition where the guy running it worked at Parallax at one point. You should be familiar with Parallax products, right? If you're dealing with someone who hates Arduinos, go pull up their GitHub page. Look at what they've worked on. Look at things they've done in the past and figure out what you're going to be facing. And even if it's something simple like downloading the IDE ahead of time, holy crap, have you tried pulling an FPGA dev environment at DEF CON? Anyone? About 8 gig worth of ISOs. It sucks. So tools I would recommend. I bring all my soldering gear, my strippers, pretty much everything I need to solder or desolder or modify any circuit that I'm given. Multimeters prove frequently useful. I have friends who bring bus pirates, logic analyzers, stuff like that. O-scopes. I bring my oscilloscope. I've got it in my bag now. But, I've seen them used, but you're starting to get into the realm of here's stuff that's way too hard to get done over a weekend. But if you know how to use them, sometimes you can get some useful visualizations out of them. I always bring a small collection of common ICs, common parts that I would need. Resistors. I got a huge-ass bag of resistors, of diodes, of common ICs like 555s, 4050s, stuff like that you just need all the time, right? And my pro tip for this, plan around hardware hacking villages, but also be ready for them not to be there, right? If you don't know anyone who has a good soldering iron, you can bet there's going to be a pretty decent one at the hardware hacking village. No, Murphy's Law is going to dictate that the second you need a good soldering iron, the guy who didn't come with anyone who just wants to sit there and talk to the hardware hacking village staff is going to be squatting on the only available one. But that's the way it goes. So I would say you can use them to your advantage, but do so cautiously. Also be warned that hardware hacking villages are out in common areas, and if you're ahead of someone or if you're putting together a circuit that other people aren't supposed to be seeing yet, you're going to have other teams spying on you. Math skills. So I kind of split math into two sets of math. Math I'm just defining as traditional math, right? The math that everyone here got in high school. Basically, basic algebra up through calculus. It's useful, but also recreational mathematics. It's super fun, and you run into it all the time, but not a lot of hackers are good at it. For a field where everyone has engineer in their title, a lot of people don't do any math. It's true. Yes? Recreational mathematics, I consider things like knowing about odd number groups, like one from last year that popped up on the badge challenge. Do you know what a no-E sequence is?
I know, but we do now.
Yeah, we do now, but like something like that. So for everyone else, a no-E sequence is numbers that in their English spelling don't have the letter E in their name. So 1 isn't there. 2 is. 3, no, 4 is there because there's no E in 4. Right? Stuff like that. It's kind of mathematical errata. Stuff that's fun to play with, but stuff that has almost no practical application. So you don't really get taught much in school in that way. And I have a solution for that on the next slide, because that's a really tricky one to learn. And, you know, numerology, not the religious aspect of numerology, but the kind of, you know, being able to spot people doing numbers with patterns in different funky ways, which really I should have just said there have good pattern recognition skills, but that's not really. Yeah. So tools I would highly, highly, highly recommend. OEIS is one of my favorite things ever. It's the online encyclopedia of integer sequences. You take a comma-separated list of integers, throw it into that website, and it will tell you all of the possible things that this could be. It will tell you all of the weird number sets this could be, and it's just the most amazingly useful thing because there are so many bizarre-ass number groups out there that almost no one knows about, and that will find them for you right quick. Positiveinteger.org is another one of my favorites because you can very quickly just whip a number at it, and it will tell you all the information you need to know about that number. It will give you common sets that it's in. It will give you all the divisors, factors, multipliers, things like that, and tell you other interesting information about that single number. Sounds kind of single use, but sometimes you just really got to know if something's prime or not, right? And that's easier than finding a prime list, hitting Control F, searching if it's in. No, screw it. Just throw it in there. And finally, Wolfram Alpha, the savior of people who don't actually want to do math or pay $700 for a mathematical license, right? You got a big equation you need figured it out, whip it into Wolfram Alpha, you'll get all your output showing you how it did all of the math. It's an absolutely fantastic search engine. If you haven't played with it, I would highly recommend it. And it also does a pretty decent job at some crypto stuff too. So general skills, this is my catch-all. Google foo, you know, just be really good at searching for stuff on crypto, because I guarantee you if someone's designing a puzzle, they're going to spend a lot of hours trying to find something really bizarre and obscure to base their puzzle around that you've probably never heard of. I can see who's done like Mystery Challenge in the audience, because I can see you all shaking your head going, yeah, I had no idea about like last year with the Eye of Ra divisor thing, or stuff like that, right? Yeah, all of us are smarter than, this is like the sum is greater than the whole. Also, familiarity with simple stego, right? Stuff like Jafars and stuff like spectrograms. Just, you know, be familiar with stego that can be solved rapidly. The Jafar thing is you can stick a zip file, you can append a zip file onto the end of an image. If you haven't seen that, it's because an image file will start reading at the top and read till it hits the footer saying here's the end. In a zip file, it starts at the bottom of the file and reads up till it hits the thing saying here's the end of the file. So literally, if you take a zip and cat append it to an image file, boom, you've just stenographically hidden a whole bunch of crap in an image file. Really easy. I've seen that pop up in more competitions than I can count. The other one, spectrogram, it is possible to pipe a bitmap into an audio file so that when you view the spectrum, you can see the image. I've seen that pop up maybe like 6 or 7 times, but it's something you should be familiar with. Have Audacity on hand. General tools, Audacity, done. Just I hate to say this, but this is basically the have common sense slide. Bring your own internet access. You need internet access all the time for this thing, for communicating with people you're working on, to Googling stuff. If you haven't brought your own little mobile AP, you're in deep shit. Sorry, it's the truth. That is probably the single most important thing you can have on you. We always bring scissors, hot glue, Sharpies, flashlights. Bonus points if you bring filters or have a UV flashlight, right? Because UV is insidious. Like, how many people noticed the UV writing in the program like 2 years ago? It's 1 year ago or 2 years ago, right? Like stuff like that. It's one of those things you just have to have that on hand to find stuff like that. And trying to find a UV flashlight at 2 a.m. in Vegas is not fun. So, yeah. So those are a few things that I would highly recommend you have some knowledge on, train up on them outside of the con, use some of those tools when you're at the con to help speed up your process. And that's a lot of crap. That is way too much stuff for one person to remember. So my solution is easy. Have a team, right? And I love the picture from Leverage, because that is exactly what you need. You need a few people who are experts at what they do, right? One person who's really good at crypto is better than 5 people who don't know how to decrypt anything. One person who can pick really good locks is better than 5 people who can pick a 3-pin quickset, right? Specialized. Division of labor is a magical thing. And if you don't have a team, find one, right? You can either form your own or find an existing team and ask if you can join. A lot of teams will be skeptical about new players joining, but we've probably added like 5 or 7 people who we've just, from Mobile Disco, we've added like, I'd say a good 7 people who we just ran into at the con who were like, what you're working on is cool, and I think I know what that is. Can I come help you with it? Yeah, by all means, do that. What's the clock look like? Okay, cool. Making good time. Pro tips for your team. Inter-team dynamics for these things can be a little tricky, right? We've got a lot of type A personalities who are all very clever, don't like being given orders, and you're all trying to work together to get something done. It wouldn't be a puzzle challenge if you didn't have at least one good fight, right? One thing I would highly recommend is limiting your team size based on who's actually helping, right? Because when you're working on one of these things, everybody sees it and goes, wow, that's really cool. Can I help you with it? And there's a point where you say, yeah, come on with. And there's a point where you realize you have 20 to 30 people following you around, and every time you get to the next step, it takes you 20 minutes to brief everyone on what you got in the envelope, and you're slowing down. So, yeah, I hate to sound like an elitist, but sometimes you need to cull the herd of who's helping you. Some sort of a secured chat and or file distribution system. Sneaker nets really, really suck. And sometimes you end up getting, I don't know, I think the biggest I got was maybe 4 gigs worth of files that we had to plow through and try to find stuff. Handing a flash drive around the room, waiting for each person to copy 4 gig when everyone's going, I need it now, we gotta be fast, we gotta find the next thing. It becomes a pain in the ass. Have a small dedicated server, at least have one person that you guys have all agreed not to try to hack, whose laptop can act as a file server for you guys. And for God's sake, get a room, right? It's a con. Anyone can go anywhere they want, right? So if you all decide we're going to meet in this corner and work on stuff, if someone from another team wants to wander over and watch you work on it, there is not a damn thing you can do about that, right? You need a base of operations, right? We always have at least one person staying in the con hotel that we can use their room for a spot to meet up where we can speak freely, work on whatever we're doing, get people up to speed. Just somewhere where we can exchange answers face to face without having to worry about every single person that's walking by, right? And it really pays off. I mean, one year we were working on Mystery Challenge, and somebody said that to another person on our team, don't work on it. Chris has got the answer, and he is he's decrypting the rest of whatever. Someone from another team came up and pushed me and tried to literally grab my laptop out of my hands, right? There's no good way to respond to that other than just pull your laptop. Yeah. Well, even if I backhand them, right? If some goon's walking by and sees me collapsing the douchebag's airway like I should have, there's no good way to respond to that. I'm sorry, that might have been a little bit strong, but that's what I wanted to do at the time. There's really no good way to respond to that. If someone wants to try to do something like that, pushing them away, trying to box them out using other people on your team, there's no real good solution for it. So just have somewhere that you can retreat to where you can work in private without having to worry about other people. Enough said. If you have teams, you are going to have social engineering, right? I'm not really sure how much social engineering actually goes on based on the fact that it's DEF CON, and if you aren't suspicious of every single person who talks to you, you're doing it wrong. But people try it, right? I can probably pull up, for mystery challenges coming up, I can probably pull up 4 or 5 fake lost Twitter accounts, right? I can find you another 4 or 5 fake websites pretending to be him, posting all sorts of interesting stuff that's just red herrings or undecryptable garbage. Feel free to engage in it, but don't be malicious, right? So another one that comes to mind was there are plenty of ways to DOS some of this stuff. One year there was a radio hidden under a table. It wasn't a very strong transmitter, and anybody who had pretty much a standard ham radio could have played another signal over it, so much so that no one else would have had a receiver capable of reading it, and everyone would have been stuck on that step till the end of the con. If you pull something like that and the people organizing that find out, you're in for a world of hurt, and also you're a horrible person. I'm putting that out there. Be willing to trade info with other teams, right? There is a whole social engineering aspect to information trading here, but you should engage in it, right? At the end of the day, it's a puzzle, but it's a game, right? It's a competition, but it's a game. If you're not having fun with it, like I said before, there's really no reason to be doing it. Sometimes you get stuck. Sometimes you're not looking at something in the right way. You don't have the right tools, whatever. You should be willing to go talk with other teams and trade information with them to try to get yourself unstuck. Because if you're stuck, you're not having fun, you're getting frustrated, and you paid a whole bunch of money to fly out to Vegas to sit in a hotel room and be angry. No, doesn't make sense. At the very least, one thing I would recommend is trying to monitor what other teams are doing, right? If you know some teams doing well, have somebody watch them. Have somebody stay in wherever the contest area is. If there's some place where you know you need to turn in answers physically, having someone there watching it so that you can at least say, okay, cool, we saw Team X went up and turned this in and got the next step. It's a big black box or something like that. Having somebody just running some really basic recon on the other teams is the very least you should be doing. So, some additional tips that I would like to give you guys. Always thank the guy running it, right? Like I said before, somebody took a whole lot of their money, even if it was conference money, and a whole hell of a lot of their time to make a game for you. A one-time use, non-recyclable game for you to come and play and have a good time, right? Just go say thank you. Just be a decent human being, right? Know your enemy. I'd say this applies to both teams and whoever you're competing against. Like I said before, when I made the parallax comparison, look at what someone does in their free time, what they've done in past challenges if they are a serial puzzle competition runner. And know what they're going to be bringing to the table. Know what their favorite ciphers are to use. Know what their favorite obscure pop culture references are that you're going to be getting thrown at you all day. Also, know other teams. Know which team has a bunch of jerks on it so you can not have your laptop grabbed from you. Know which teams are going to come over and go, oh, hey, here's some random crap hardware that I bought at the dollar store. Lost told me to give this to you. Or the guy running the puzzle competition asked me to give you this envelope with some neato information about emailing some random, whatever. It's all stuff that I've had happen before, and just know who you're dealing with. Also know the people who are going to smile and lie straight to your face. It happens all the time. I wouldn't call it social engineering so much as some people will be on your team and then lie to take information elsewhere and screw you over. Not really social engineering so much as just straight out lying. So, yeah, be warned, people will do whatever. And finally, know when to walk away, right? A lot of game designers don't know anything about security, and a lot of security people don't know anything about game design. I was doing a puzzle a while back, and we're trying to get to the next step, and we had an envelope full of just cut out paper. And every piece had a number on it and a letter. And we couldn't solve it for like 2 days. This was just a kind of ongoing, however long it takes you to solve thing. After like 2 days of looking at it, we were just like, you know what? We can't solve this. Screw it. We'll just give up. I ran into the guy who was running it, who was kind of put it together later, and asked him like what the deal with it was. He's like, I had this whole like 108 character sentence. So I printed it out and I chopped it all up and put all the letters in there. So it's like an anagram. You had to solve it. But I figured that would be too easy. So I put an additional 108 letters in there. And the numbers have nothing to do with anything. That was just another red herring. And I cut all the edges to be random shapes so you couldn't try to piece it back together. Right? That is a crappy, crappy, crappy puzzle that there's no way to solve. You can brute force it and get a million different answers for that. Know when to say, you know what, this isn't a very well-designed puzzle. I've seen a few things that show that you have no idea what you're doing, so just walk away. Do you have a question? Oh, sorry, I thought I saw a hand up. So, that being said, if you find this interesting, or you would like to see this from the point of view of someone who has built a lot more puzzles than me, Lost himself is giving a talk tomorrow at 4 o'clock called Hacking the Hackers, How Firm is Your Foundation? And right after I read the description of it, it sounds like it's going to be the same thing as this, but with a little more focus on individual skills. I would highly recommend that anyone who finds this interesting attend. And if you're wondering, oh, hey, this sounds interesting, I haven't done any of this before and I'd like to get involved, take a crack at the badge challenge this year, right? There is a badge challenge again this year. It's been confirmed. And yeah, if anyone's doing mystery challenge, solving the badge challenge will get you past a step, apparently. So, yeah, I know. It was cake, right? Yeah. But yeah, by all means, if you're looking for something to do, there's going to be all kinds of stuff hidden in the badge that you can take a crack at. Last year, there were all sorts of teams of people who just met in the hallway, popping up and trying to work on these. So yeah, take a peek around. You'll be able to find someone working on it if you don't have a team already. So that being said, any questions? Anyone? Yeah, it can be kind of daunting, but in the end, it's usually something that's pretty simple, right? A lot of the challenges I've done have been things where you look at it and you go, I have no idea how to do this, and then when you get to the next step, you're like, oh man, that was really easy. We should have seen that all along. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of stuff to take in. I hope those tool recommendations will at least help people who are interested in doing like the badge challenge or any other thing this year. Question? How much of the con?
Dedicate to do the challenge versus other stuff.
It entirely depends on the puzzle, who's running it, and how much free time they want you to have, right? There are plenty of that. A lot of the times, the people running it will start dropping hints so that they can move you along at a speed that they like, right? They know how much stuff has to get done in a set amount of time. And so they're going to start handing you more and more revealing hints as as you get towards the time when they think you should be done with a given step or a given puzzle. In the case of something like the badge challenge, you can maybe beat it in a few hours. It's with something like mystery challenge, that's what I'm going to be spending most of the conference on, aside from a few parties at night. That's what I'm going to be doing. So, yes. How long have I been doing them? Yeah, that's more or less forever. For competitive ones at conferences, literally the first year that I showed up at a conference, which was maybe 5 years ago, the people who I hang out with in Chicago do competitive puzzles. So right from the first con I went to, they're like, by the way, everybody you know here is doing this, so why not jump in? As for how many I've done schmooganography 2 or 3 times. I've been on the team for Mystery Challenge 4 times. I've done a number of badge challenges, a number of GMARC's crypto contests. I think I worked on 1 or 2 of them that were at DEF CON, and a few of the other ones that he did, maybe 3 of them that he did at ShmooCon. And that's just the stuff that springs to mind. I'm on level 50-something on Not Prawn, if you've done that. Even though that doesn't really count as much, and I've beat all the missed games up through 4 when they just started getting crappy. Yes?
How much of this are you seeing in malware? Have we seen one where it was like taking every... I saw one where it was like obviously malware with, I guess it was shell script. Where it was taking like each byte and like you have to subtract one from the next number. Are you seeing this much?
Some of these, I guess, for malware obfuscation, yes. Some of these techniques are really simple and really lightweight, so you could apply them to disguise code very easily. I don't do malware analysis myself, so any numbers I could give you would be speculation. I would assume people are doing it because it's so simple and lightweight. It's a lot easier than trying to haul in some heavy-duty encryption algorithm and hide a key somewhere. But, yeah. Did I see a question in the back somewhere? No? All right. Well, I believe that is it for what I have. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Yeah.